Excellent evening, everyone. Welcome to All in One, One in All. We're very excited this evening because we have a conversation today that's going to entail can Muslims and Christians worship in the same environment, in the same building, right? So we're going to have a conversation this evening. Today I have with me here, you want to tell everybody your name and just briefly who you are?
Thank you, sir. An excellent evening to everyone. My name is Sahid Adibowale-Badru. I'm a Nigerian, and I currently am a businessman and an IT consultant here in Nigeria.
Nice. And I am Alawode-James, an event director, a broadcaster, and I also host events. Plus, I've been a co-host on the all-in-one shoots for a while. And I'm very excited to be here today. We're still in the new year. I'm very excited about 2019 and things to come within the year.
Man, me too, man. I'm fired up and excited about life. And thank you for showing up, Sahib. When I came to Nigeria, I realized that I didn't know the percentages, but I've been told that roughly the country is like maybe 50% Muslim, 50%
Yes,
Christian.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, Muslims tend to stay together and Christians stay together. There's a bit of intermarriage, but most times it's two different camps. So I guess today, one of the things about all in one and all is one umbrella that everybody, whether you are not even have a name for your religion, it's somewhere that you can actually be a part of and find a sense of peace and joy and liberate the abundance of our nature. So let me start with you, Saeed. You've been a Muslim all your life. You want to give us some insight there?
Yes, basically, being a Muslim actually is all about the word called submission and peace. And it comes from the word Islam. Islam means peace and submission to the Creator. So basically, a Muslim's responsibility is just to be at peace with himself and also to be in submission to the Most High.
Okay.
In all its forms.
Doc, what I have found unites Christians and Muslims in Nigeria in particular is that a lot of us still practice our traditional religion underneath. So we're ashamed of it because the colonialists and the people who brought the missionary who brought religion, said to us that our religion is wicked because when someone angers you, you have juju, which is, we call it jazz. You can kill somebody who you have angered. But if you read the Bible, and I've read it 12 times, it's my 13th time of reading, you will find also that the Old Testament, God was portrayed to be such an angry person. Also, if you hear Muslims talk about their religion being of peace, being of love and sharing, we're united in that. And then they have, Jesus is Isa, am I right?
Yes.
And we have Abraham, they have Ibrahim, and we have similar prophets. So there's similarity in the religions. Also, I hear that there are 4,000 religions all over the world, maybe more. And in each one, everyone believes based on their culture and tradition that they're worshiping the one true God. And everyone else is going to go to hell. So if you don't worship God the Christian way, you're all going to hell. And then the Muslim will also be taught that if you don't, worship God the Muslim way, then everyone else is good. And I wonder, if God is love, as the Bible describes them, why would he create somebody in India, Japan, Afghanistan, in countries where they do not know of maybe Islam or Christianity, although these religions are worldwide, and they're born into a Christian or whatever different religion, and they end up going to hell just because they didn't practice their religion or worship God the way that someone who was born in Nigeria or Rome did. It just doesn't add up for me.
For me that was my start in searching and trying to understand and get clarity, because that didn't make sense to me either. And so I rejected not the Bible, but I rejected the perspective that somebody brought to me. And they brought it to me from the standpoint, if I didn't do what they said I was supposed to do, then I would go to hell. And the only way to be saved is to take what they said. And that didn't make sense, because if I was born in India, as you said, then my chances of
being a Christian
would have been shot. right? So in understanding that, then I did quite a bit of study, and I came to recognize that it's really a misinterpretation, a lot of misinterpretation of what the Bible is trying to say. And also in my studies, I ran up into the biography of Muhammad and his journey to Mecca and different aspects of Islam, and recognized, as I studied also Christianity, I recognized that what people focus on are the differences as opposed to focusing on what is the same. We're all trying to find God, right?
Yes.
And in terms of finding God, let me hear from you. Where do you believe we could find God as a Muslim?
Yeah, over the years, I've had so much questions. I've done so much research, and I realized, that at the end of the day, everything is within.
Wow.
And I have the perspective of looking at things from inside out. And basically, when I took my time to study Islam, I realized that most of what Islam teaches actually is looking within, in the sense that religion to me is more or less like a tool to attain spirituality. But to me, the end goal is spirituality, and spirituality for me is just connecting with the true Creator and the attributes of the Creator. So I believe that whatever way we have to find God, it has to be connected to within us, inside of us.
Okay.
So your perspective on that?
I'm reading Genesis again, and Joseph, when he became the prime minister, when his brothers came, he sat differently from them because they were Hebrews and the Egyptians weren't. It was a taboo for the Egyptians to sit with the Hebrews, so they had a different way of worship. So different religions have been in existence for many, many years, even before Christ. And after Christ, Saul was on his way to Damascus to crucify Christians when Christ called him, seeing his heart, that he truly wanted to worship God, but he was doing it based on how he had been told he ought to worship God. I therefore realized that truly God is within. And so he's personal to each and every one of us. If Saul didn't have that personal encounter with Christ, why are you persecuting my people? He would still have gone ahead believing he was worshiping the one true God in the way that he knew how to. And since I started searching within rather than without for God, I found more peace. There's more joy. There's more happiness. Life will happen to every one of us. Like Christ said, that we're in the world but not of the world. Life will happen to each and every one of us. And if you actually search within, regardless of what phase of life you're in, you find that everything that happens is orchestrated. Like Joseph, his going to Egypt was really orchestrated. He could have been angry with his brothers, but he wasn't. He realized in hindsight that God prepared the way for him to be the one who would save his family, all 77 of them eventually, by him going through the journey of being in prison and all of that. So God is awesome.
So the interesting thing, right? There are a couple of parallels. One of the parallels is you've recognized that it's not an outside search. So God is not on a mountaintop. It's not in Mecca, even though Mecca is a great pilgrimage. But it's not that God is there. And when we spoke some time back and we looked at some of the errors that we were taught through devotionals and stuff that let us look outside, and it was when you turned inside that you found peace. And so to some extent, when we all met, I know you hadn't started silent meditation at that time, and yourself as well. And maybe around the same time, maybe you guys got into starting to look within and do some silent meditation. And we've heard your testimony already, through your devotionals and finding that peace. You've become so much more peaceful since then. But I haven't been able to hear what was life like before you started that aspect of really turning within and silently meditating, as opposed to what was it before? What was it before and what was it been like afterwards?
Thank you. Before I started meditating, I had an issue with distractions. There was a lot of noise, mental noise in my head. I wanted to do this, I had my mind was always working 2/7, and there was a lot of, it was very difficult for me to really focus at the time. And when I was being taught about meditation, I was being enlightened about meditation, and I started practicing. At the beginning, it was actually tough, in the sense that it was new to me, it was strange, it was scary.
I like scary part.
It was scary. I've heard a lot about the Indian, the way the Indians meditate, the yoga and all this, and I felt at the time, honestly, I thought maybe I was going to be possessed while I was meditating. But I actually realized that meditation is just a way of it's an exercise for the mind. It keeps the body and the mind, calm. It helps me to focus on one thing, which is the inner me, which is me. It filters all the noise of the world, the mental noise, and it's been able to help me to stay more focused, stay more alert. Right now, I am able to focus on one thing at a time. I'm able to have clarity on life. I'm able to be more introspective, and I look at things with perspective right now, better than before. I'm still in the journey because I won't say I've gotten there yet. We never get there yet as long as we progress through life. So every day I take the time. I still get distracted every now and then, but I try as much as possible to just stay the course every day, even if it's just 5 minutes every day, to meditate before I start my day.
So the anxieties, you're mentally distracted. What about that sense? Do you have any feeling of anxiety before? Like you noticed that any difference in terms of feeling anxious before you started meditating versus today?
Yes, very large difference, because back then, when I had challenges, life always happens, like Jonathan said. My mind was always, I used to have something called not having rest of mind. In Yoruba, but
peace.
Okay.
Yes, peace.
But whatever.
But lately, in the past year, I've had some challenges, which I would say might even be greater than some of the challenges I've experienced in the past. But I realized I wasn't really disturbed, although I've been used to handling problems, by just going through them. But I felt this inner peace. I didn't feel worried. I didn't feel like the world is going to end. I just kept focusing on the end result. I kept focusing on the bottom line, where I'm going. That didn't really matter. Whatever I was going didn't really matter.
So both of you, right? Because Jumoke, you have shared that, and you're sharing the same peace and joy and the same thing that you're talking about. The anxiousness gone, the fear's gone, and you call God Allah, and you call God
Jesus.
Jesus, okay. So, and I've said before that the name is not important, right? What's important is connection. Because the qualities are the essences of God, which peace and joy and love, whatever we call peace, joy, in Islam, it's going to be peace, joy, love.
Yeah.
In Christianity, it's going to be peace, joy, love.
Yeah.
In Buddhism, it's going to be peace, joy, love.
Yeah.
So the essences and the fruits of the Spirit as well, which go beyond peace, joy, love in terms of patience, strength, endurance. These are things that all of us need to be able to work in life.
True.
But we focus so much on the names that people get lost in the different names, as opposed to the qualities or the essences which are the same from both. So turning within, if we look at within, there can't be different gods within. There's just one God that rules this universe. So if you go within, and I go within, and I go within, at the end of the day is one presence.
Yeah.
And that presence meets us where we are and articulates to us based on our level of understanding of what it is that we need at that time. So I'm very grateful to hear that both of you are having, progressing towards peace and joy. And it's not about changing from, saying you need to leave from Islam to Christianity or Christianity to Islam to find God, because that's not not going to happen. If you can't find God in your chair, and you can't find God in your chair, you won't find God by changing the building or changing the physical location.
And I'd like to quickly add that I've also spoken to people who practice our traditional religion, and the same fruits are true of the true worshippers, in that even though you have spiritual powers like everyone else, if we decide to stay focused and connect to the Spirit of God, there information available to us that is not available to ordinary people just because they are not as focused in silent meditation. And so when they do the practice and they're able to access the spiritual realm, they can choose to use it positively or negatively. It's not about God, it's about the human being who is using the powers available to them the way they decide to. So a traditional worshiper will say their fruits are also of peace, of forgiveness. Even though I can turn you into an animal, I will not, because I decide to forgive you. They've just been demonized because the people who came, the missionaries, didn't understand the traditional religion, so they made them seem like idol worshipping. Meanwhile, they were all looking for God in the ways that they knew, their own traditions and language and culture. And I refuse to accept that my great-grandparents who didn't know Jesus, because the mission came to Nigeria after they died, that they're in hell.
Or something. That doesn't make any sense.
That they're in hell because they worshipped God in the way that they knew how to worship Him in those days. So it makes me more acceptable of other religions around me. We're all looking for God. And as far as we're all open to peace, joy, forgiveness, patience, kindness, then we're all looking for the same God, regardless of how we call Him.
Whatever we're gonna call God, Allah, Jesus, Elohim, some
Buddha.
people call it Buddha, Krishna, and the things that the God has, I think 130 something different names, right, that have been ascribed to God. But really, what will bring unity is when we focus on the essences, right, which is like the qualities of God. And when we recognize that we're focusing on the qualities, it doesn't really matter what name is. And the thing about name and the nature of something, they're the same. So if something has a name, really what you should be looking for, what is its nature? And all of these avatars that people worship, which symbolize the God, because in terms of, okay, this is something that that person was here, that individual lived, they walked, they share the qualities that we are seeking to embody, and then we then end up worshiping that individual, as opposed to realizing that really what we're trying to extract from that individual are the qualities. So as we realize that the qualities is what we should embody, the more of us should start focusing on what's different between you and me and different people. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to what are you exhibiting the essences. Because if you say you're worshiping whomever, right, and then you're angry, you're easily impatient, you're upset, you can't deal with the circumstances of life, the way in which both of you had to be up and down and sometimes get upset and striving and stuff. But by turning within, using silent meditation, that's where the opening, so to speak, to the presence of God happened. And then the presence of God came through that opening that you provided through practice. And then that coming in now has provided the peace, provided the joy, provided the strength, provided the clarity. And the name, if you still praying to Allah, you still praying to Jesus, it's still comes down to what it is that's bearing.
No more mood swings.
Yeah. So man, I'm grateful. This conversation has been beautiful. It's a beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful, Sahid, for choosing to meditate. I really want to thank you for choosing to do that and being able to say, man, I was scared, but you survived, man. He's here. Joker's first time, right? It was Anaconda, something like that. I remember, but I always have something that comes up in the beginning and stuff. So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So he was going to say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I am very big on science. I did a little research recently about something called vibrations, and there's this thing connected to meditation and having a way of doing vibing. We call it vibing, where you can actually filter out, because science tells us that a lot of these feelings, thoughts, they are expressed in form of waves, and when you just like charges, when like charges attract, like charges attract, or like charges repel. Sorry, yes, and on opposite charges attract, like charges repel.
Yeah. So
in the cosmos, in the cosmos science world, it's actually the opposite. So when you have a positive vibration, when you have a positive state of mind. You tend to manifest, scientifically proven, manifest positive circumstances around you.
Nice.
Same thing with the negative. And I realized that a lot of people don't know that they have control over
What happens around them?
Yes, based on how they respond and based on how the language they use. So that has been able to. I personally have an interest in digging from the scientific perspective because I love science, and I hope that with time we'll be able to find evidences, provable evidences that science actually supports spirituality. Spirituality can be explained with science.
Okay. So a good point, William, and there is that evidence already. There's some great work already done, already documented regarding thoughts and energy and frequency and vibration and all of that. So I'll make some suggestions to you, some stuff that you could go read too, man.
Cool.
All right, man. Awesome. All right, guys. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.